Welcome to Casual Mania, where we kick back and bring the heat. UFC 286 went down yesterday, and what an eventful card it was. A lot of stuff to talk about that went down, and let's waste no more time. Marvin Vettori defeats Roman Dolidze. I think that's just what I'm going to go with. By unanimous decision. I thought this was the right call. I saw a lot of people thinking it could have gone the other way, that Roman might have been able to take round 1 and round 3, but the first round was pretty close, but I still think Marvin was able to take it. He came out really aggressively, throwing a lot more kicks, a lot of leg kicks that didn't seem to be the most damaging at the beginning, but maybe as the fight went on, maybe started taking a bit more of a toll. I thought in round 1, Marvin seemed to be the aggressor, landing a lot more volume, and then towards the end of the round, Roman had a few big moments where he had Marvin against the cage and was throwing a lot of bombs, and I think that's what led people to believe that he had taken the first round. But I just thought Marvin seemed to be able to actually block a lot of the shots that Roman was throwing. Like, I don't think all of them were actually getting through and connecting, and most of the time Marvin was throwing straight back and landing as well. So I thought, like, for that exchange, it was kind of a bit more even, and then just throughout the rest of the round, I think Marvin just did enough to get that round 1, and then, yeah, round 2 was clearly him. It seemed like, I don't know if Roman was gassed or what, but wasn't, like, I thought he might have been a bit more active during this fight, and if he was, he might have been able to get the decision. Like, I don't know if it was a cardio issue, maybe just the accumulation of leg kicks, I don't know. But then the third round was, like, kind of what I wanted to see from him throughout the entire fight, like, just going for it, throwing haymakers, and so he was definitely able to secure that last round, but wasn't enough. So still, like, a good test for him, though, because his first time fighting against a guy in the top 5, and, you know, Marvin's got a lot of wins in the middleweight division, so Marvin winning, and I don't know, who does he fight next? You could put him against Khamzat Chimaev, honestly, because I think Khamzat's going to be going up to middleweight. That could be a real good test. Like, I think if Khamzat can beat Marvin, then, I mean, that pretty much secures a spot at the top of that division, so maybe something like that. And then as for Roman, just, I mean, keep giving him top 10 contenders, why not? Women's flyweight, Jennifer Maia defeating Casey O'Neill. Just, Jennifer Maia, just relentless, like, so many strikes thrown on the feet. It was almost non-stop throughout the entire 3 rounds. Casey O'Neill, like, it's not like she was falling behind, but she was also keeping the pace going the whole time as well, but just, like, Jennifer Maia just seemed to be on another level, which I thought Casey O'Neill, you know, might have been able to do a bit better, but Maia's a veteran for a reason, you know, she's got a lot of wins in the UFC, so just the experience factor probably played it in this. But then Casey still had some good moments as well. Like, there was a few good kicks that she was able to land, like some head kicks at the end of her combinations, but, you know, Jennifer Maia, 30-27, then 2-29-28. So, welterweight bout, Gunnar Nelson defeating Brian Barberena by first round submission. Thought Barberena might have had a bit more to offer. I actually forgot that it was a short notice replacement, that it was meant to be D-rolled in this matchup. But Gunnar Nelson, like, he's just shown that taking the time off that he's taken hasn't really affected him whatsoever. Pretty much was just a repeat of Barberena versus RDA, just took him down and was just able to submit him, and, like, just straightforward. Co-main event and main event, let's move. Like, this is the stuff, this is what we really want to be covering. Justin Gaethje defeating Rafael Fiziev by majority decision, and, I mean, this really just did live up to the hype, didn't it? It was such a back and forth matchup, pretty much contested entirely on the feet. And Gaethje, it's like what I was saying in my predictions, I couldn't count out my boy Gaethje. I had faith in him to be able to get it done here, and he did it. Kind of how I thought would happen. Rafael started off the fight real good, like, so many shots to the body, just, which I also pointed out because in previous Gaethje fights, like against Alvarez and, you know, during his losses, he's got that high guard, the body's quite a bit open, so Fiziev seems to be taking advantage of that, and, yeah, just damaging to the body, and then just seemed to taper off like he kind of does in a lot of his fights. Like, just towards the third round, just started slowing down a bit more, becoming less accurate. The speed was insane for the beginning, which I guess that's why he can't obviously maintain it for that long, because he's just throwing with such speed, such velocity, and it must have been doing a number on Gaethje, but you couldn't tell, because as the fight continued, Gaethje just got better. I thought this was the correct decision. I thought Gaethje did win round 2 and 3, round 3 especially. One of the judges scored that a 10-8, though. I don't know why that was a 10-8. Like, Gaethje was landing a lot of good jabs. He was doing a lot of damage to Fiziev's face. But, I mean, nothing to really constituted 10-8. Like, Gaethje he was doing a lot of damage. He landed a lot of strikes, but I mean, I don't think it was that bad. But yeah, Gaethje getting it done here. I think you've rebooked the match with Dustin. I think that makes sense. And then Fiziev, who could he fight next? Maybe do a matchup with Gamrot. I mean, Gamrot just got a win, and they're both in the top 10. It's Fiziev ranked as number 6, so I mean, maybe do something like that, maybe. Unless you're just wanting to put Fiziev in more stand-up wars, then no, somebody else. But, you know, good win for Gaethje. He's looking to make one last run for the title, so good luck to the man. And the main event, Leon Edwards, he's done it again. Rocky Edwards has done it again. I couldn't believe it, really. It's just, I keep doubting this man, and he keeps just making me eat my own words. So what can I do? What can I really do about that? But yeah, first round, really good round for Leon. Honestly, they were all really good rounds for Leon. He was just able to defend the takedowns, and just so many shots, just over and over, leg kicks, body kicks, just yeah, damaging to Usman. And a lot has been said about Usman's knees, about how weak they are, and it really seemed like Leon was trying to exploit that during this fight. And I don't know if that was the reason, because to me, Usman really did not look like the same fighter in this fight as he has done previously, like even like compared to just the most recent fight that had, the one before this. Usman just seemed to be a whole lot slower. He was throwing so wildly, like sometimes he does that as well, but like he just seemed to be so far off. Like all his shots were so predictable, like his strikes, but also his takedowns, like almost a lot of them I was going for. I was like, yeah, he's going to shoot now. Like he just backed Leon towards the fence. And then, yeah, when he was shooting, it would just be so obvious, and Leon was able to like just begin taking it down before Usman could even get to him, really. Just real obvious. Like, I don't know what it was. It could have been, maybe it was Usman in his own head because he'd been knocked out last time. Like, I mean, that's kind of understandable. And then even the commentary team was saying because of the amount Leon was throwing strikes to the body and throwing low, that it was setting Usman up for the head kick. And then a few times where he was blocking those body kicks, you know, really seemed like he was open for it. And Leon did try and throw it a few times, but nothing landed too flush. But he did land a lot of good knees coming out of the clinch that really seemed to rock Usman. So, I mean, it wasn't a case of the chin being gone, but maybe the mentality was affected by that loss, which I did not think was going to happen. I thought Usman, if anything, would motivate him to be even better. Or maybe it just was, maybe it is his knee injuries. Maybe it was just the damage that Leon was doing to him. Like, I'm not taking anything away from Leon's performance here. He had a really good performance, but if you're just looking at what Usman was bringing, it just didn't look like the same Usman to me whatsoever. He gave Leon so much space. I think he should have just been a lot more savage and relentless, like just non-stop shooting against the clinch, which is what shooting into the clinch and, you know, completing takedowns, which I think people thought he was going to do going into this. People thought he'd be relying a lot more on his wrestling and maybe make it a bit more of a snooze fest. And when he did go for the wrestling, like he was able to get a few takedowns, but Leon was able to just get straight back up with no real issue. And then, yeah, when it came to the striking, Usman was able to land a few good shots to Leon as well. Did look like he had hurt him at some points, but no, just a really good overall performance for Leon. Some people are calling this a robbery. I thought Usman maybe did a bit better on the scorecards than people were giving him. I thought it could have been probably 3-2 either way, but I mean, if we're looking at the damage overall, it was clearly Leon like landing the more strikes. Usman just being the aggressor, coming forward, but not really doing anything with it. Like, he was coming forward, putting the pressure on Leon, but wasn't really able to capitalize on anything. So, yeah, it was just Leon pretty much just being able to tee off on him for the most part. Next up, Colby Covington's getting the title shot. I feel like I can make a whole separate video on the welterweight division. I still think I will. And a lot of people are mad about this, like, Colby doesn't deserve the title shot. Like, I can't believe you're giving it to him or whatever. But, I mean, I'm going to be biased as fuck because I'm the biggest Colby fan. So I'm fully happy behind him getting this title. And if there's any chance for him to actually become the UFC champion, I think this is it. If we're looking at it from an entertainment standpoint, I mean, obviously Colby, like him versus Leon, the most exciting matchup, I think, in that division. And if we're talking about Colby's credibility as a title contender, I mean, he really, apart from Leon's fights against Usman, he had the closest fights against Usman. Like, he was up on the scorecards that first one before getting stopped. I thought he won that second fight. If not, I thought minimum it should have been a draw. Like, you could have even justified having a third fight after that, probably. And then he dominated Masvidal, which a lot of people like to just write off that now. Like, it's easy for everybody to be like, oh yeah, Masvidal sucks, he's just this journeyman. But the thing is, when Masvidal was getting these title shots, like, the majority of people were so fully behind Masvidal. And then it really was just, like, the hardcores, I guess you'd say, who were aware of, like, Masvidal's history, and that maybe he was a bit more of a journeyman. I mean, obviously, not taking anything away from that win streak Masvidal was able to get, because that was really impressive, over knocking out Till, Askren, then just demolishing Nate Diaz. Like, it was a really good streak, so he was deserving of a title shot from that. But, I mean, his skill just wasn't really anything to be able to get him, like, being able to secure him the title, really. Like, he's just not on Usman or Colby's level at all. But yeah, it's just funny, like, it's just a classic thing. Everyone's turned on Masvidal completely, acting like he's just this complete shit fighter, which Masvidal is not as shit as everyone's saying. Like, he's got a lot of good wins to counteract that argument, and he's nearing his 40s as well. When you look at the amount of fights he's had so many. And then, if you're trying to discredit like Colby's win over Masvidal, Masvidal was the most recent title contender. Like, the person Colby beat, whether you hate it just because it's Masvidal or not, like, he was the most recent challenger for the title at that time, and Colby 50-43'd him. So, like, and then if you're going to compare it to Leon Edwards as well, Edwards was real and active for a long time, whoever's fault that may be, but, you know, like, Leon bet RDA, which really, like, in people's minds, cemented him as the top contender of the division. But RDA, you know, moving up from lightweight, and he'd already been smashed by Colby and Usman at that point. And then Leon bet Nate, who had just been smashed by Jorge, who'd been smashed by Colby, and Nate isn't even a welterweight. So, you know, you're trying to, like, everyone's trying to discredit Colby getting this title shot, and I don't think, like, if we're going to talk about people who are deserving, you're talking about Bilal Muhammad, you're talking about Gilbert Burns, but even Gilbert, like, all the people he's fighting, they're not even in the top 10 at the moment. Like, I'm not discrediting his wins, because, I mean, he's been looking impressive. Like, even his loss to Hamzat, he looks real good. But, and then Bilal Muhammad, like, he hasn't beat anyone in the top 5 either, so it's just welterweight. The problem with it is that no one in the top 5 for the past few years, like, they've all just been avoiding each other. Everyone's been doing it. You had Ben Askren come in from an entirely different promotion. Like, Nate Diaz was in the mix when he's not even a welterweight. So, like, it's just, I feel like just give it to anybody at this point. And for my money, Colby, he's the one I want to do it. Like, yeah, I'm biased, I don't care. I want to see that matchup. So, and, like, people are acting like they care about Bilal Muhammad now. No, you don't. Like, no one really does care about Bilal Muhammad. And then you can make an argument for Gilbert Burns, but, I mean, like, his last win was over Neil Magny. I think Colby Covington's win over Jorge Masvidal is better than that. So, and then now Gilbert is fighting Jorge. So what, you're going to give Gilbert a title after beating Jorge, who's now ranked 11, but not quite, like, it's just, who really cares? I'm kind of just taking what we're given, and I'm just happy that it is Colby, because he's one of my favorite fighters. So, whatever. The main thing is that Leon Edwards is the welterweight champion, and we'll see what kind of a streak he can build. Like, I think Colby has a really hard matchup for him, and I'm really excited to see how that fight goes. And then, you know, maybe Leon will go on an absolute tear from here. We don't really know. And the fact he hasn't fought a lot of the top guys at welterweight, it's pretty much the same situation as Islam, who was also calling for a title fight. Like, yeah, just fuck off, Islam. Like, actually, you're in the same boat. Like, you haven't fought anybody in the top 10 of your own division, so maybe just get through some of them first. And you've still got that Volk rematch waiting. But yeah, like I was saying, there's still a whole lot of guys for Leon to fight there. So if he can retain against Colby, then yeah, so many matchups to go. And then if Colby wins, again, like, there's just so many more matchups to make there. So welterweight's going to be interesting for the next wee while. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to what that weight class can bring. So we've got Vera vs Sandhagen. Is that next weekend? It is next weekend. Not even away any more weekends to get some banger matchups. So I'll be coming to you with some predictions for that, and my recap afterwards. And then UFC 287 Pereira vs Adesanya 2. That's an absolute banger of a card. So yeah, lots of good shit to come, so stay tuned.